Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 2nd, 2021 at roughly 9:30 p.m. PST. We're doing our best to get organized. And with that in mind, we've already talked about the way energy flows. Now we've got to discuss the other thing. Whose responsibility is it for whether or not you become successful? For whether or not your life gets in order? Okay, is it the religious people that you're following? Is it the spiritual guide you've been listening to? Is it the politicians? Is it your parents? Is it perhaps who you call the elite? Or some other nation or some other nationality? The reality is this. Okay, the answer to all of those above is no. The only person on this planet, correction, the only person in existence that has direct control over whether you're successful or not is you. Now, this applies to me as well. Okay, the only person that's got control of that, and therefore the only person whose responsibility it is yours. That was really poor pronunciation, but what the heck? By the way, in case you're just joining me, this is a live recording, meaning when I get done the recording, I do not go back and edit anything. Any quirks I have, anything that I say, number one, let's be very clear. It's my personal opinion. Okay, but I've watched this world for a long time, go into tailspin after tailspin, and it always comes back to the same thing. Who's responsible? Well, in the greater scheme of things, probably it's a combination. Well, it is a combination. But in your life particularly, the responsibility of your success or lack thereof is 100% yours. Circumstances will create complications, certainly. But we talk to a lot of people that have addictions. And the most common excuse we get is, so-and-so made me drink. So-and-so made me do drugs. So-and-so made me beat the daylights out of them. Ain't wrong, thanks for playing. It is literally your own choice. Okay, yes, addictions are a royal pain in the neck, but your success, whether you get past an addiction, whether you get past a bad habit, in my case, the bad habit was real simple. Now, I used to drink a 26er a night. Okay, and I used to quit counting lines at 6. But, that being said, the bigger problem that I had, because both of those I walked away from almost 40 years ago, 35 years ago now. The one I had the biggest problem breaking was my tendency of hanging on to everything, pack ratting. Now, I used to blame it on the fact that my entire bloodline were pack rats. Okay, it was all genetics. Wrong, it's not. Well, it may well be. But the fact is, you're the one in control of whether or not you're going to change your patterns. I've taken the idea of holding on to everything and gotten rid of a staggering amount of it. But that's because I took responsibility for my own actions, for my own behaviors, and for my own choices. If, or more to the point, when you do the same thing, your life will start to shift gears. You'll start getting rid of the things that you're not content with in your life. And that result, all you'll be left with is the things you are content with. Okay. Now, the reality of it is this. No matter how you do it, okay, you can blame anybody you want. You know, people that are overweight, if it's a genetic thing, i.e. if you've got a thyroid or an adrenal problem, okay, and any number of other medical reasons, then, yeah, there are extenuating circumstances. But if the reason you're overweight is because you were sitting and eating, the only person to blame is you. Whether you were depressed, whether that was a trigger for it or not, is not the point. The point is you're the one that did it. Okay. Now, some people will say I'm being really harsh. You know, people have things that cause problems. They absolutely do. Absolutely they do. I've had my fair share of complications. Okay, and like you, I used to blame a lot of people. But as I said when I first started doing these videos, okay, it literally boils down to one thing. Okay, when you desire your life to change, you're the only one that can do it. Now, I had a lot of encouragement from people, from contacts of mine, from clients, from strangers, to get this whole perspective out on video. And it was that prompting that eventually, well, March 6th of this year, so we're approaching 2 months now, that we started doing these videos. Okay, and that has helped immensely in keeping me motivated. On April 16th was the first video I missed. Now, there's been a couple that have been tight, like today's is going to be a little later than we'd like. We usually try and get them done early in the morning so that we don't start running out of steam. Because when we're done this video, we will be hanging up. You know, we'll be putting it to bed, we'll be packing it up, posting it, and going to bed. Okay, that's just the way it's going to go today. See, one of the best things that we did, we had a stroke a couple of years ago, and it shut down the whole left side. It's taken me 2 years, and it wasn't until I turned around and moved my office around a little and ended up putting my coffee on the left-hand side. And Lord knows I probably drank too much coffee, but the doctor's happy because of the amount, and because of the strength of it. Or if not happy, at least she's tolerating it. But when I moved my coffee cup over there, that encouragement, you know, just having that coffee there, has really given me motivation to work a lot on this shoulder. Net result, my reaction time and coordination, I've noticed a marked change in it. But that's because I took responsibility for my own holdup. The doctors did what they could, and, you know, thanks very much to them. You know, I don't like doctors at the best of times, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But they did the job well. The therapists that I worked with were very congenial, very encouraging. Net result, I've got everything working reasonably. Now that said, the only person that anybody can blame for their own lack of success is their own choices. Now, there's all sorts of extenuating circumstances. Like, for instance, let's say you're stuck in a job that you're not content with. It's time to get out of it. But before you do that, be intelligent about it. Find a secondary income or generate a secondary income in order to replace that job before you quit. Because you still require the income to survive. Or at least I do. You know, I'm not looking forward to living on the street at all, and I cut it real close on occasion. Okay. So, you take responsibility for your own life. Remember, karmic law is simple. Be true to yourself first. Okay. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Those are the only three laws that I promote. Okay, and the reason for that is because if you take a look at all the laws out there, okay, whether they're spiritual guidelines, whether they're religious doctrine, whether they're just what you've been raised to believe, take a look at all of those laws, okay, including things like with the so-called New Age, which, by the way, are a lot older than the mainstream religions. Even with their guidelines. Okay, even with the so-called First Nations. All of these guidelines fit into those three laws. Okay, and that's why I refer to them. But you take responsibility for your own actions, for your own choices, and you start eliminating the things you're not content with. And I always encourage people, in case you haven't noticed, of keeping a list of the different goals that you've got for the day. Okay, I don't expect you to read that, but you can tell there is some writing there. Okay, and I just write them down. Recommend, write down 3 jobs. How to pick them? Take a look where you're sitting right now. Look at the stuff around you and look at what needs to be put where it belongs. Either put away or disposed of. Take your pick. Doesn't matter. Start with that. Put and write down 3 things. Keep them to 15-minute to half-hour jobs at the longest. When you get 3 done, I hope that you make this video, completing this video, as the first job to deal with. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Okay, and just in case you hadn't noticed, my channel's name is Inner Voice Enterprises. That is also my company name. Okay, share the daylights out of it. My personal goal with regards to these videos is to get them to reach everybody on the planet, to help people understand that first and foremost, every single person, every single entity, every single being is of equal value. Not monetarily speaking. I'm referring to spiritually speaking. Okay. Spread the word around, because together, if we all do our part, if we all take care of our own little section of the world and eliminate the things that are not happy and that you're not content with. Now understand, stay within those 3 laws. Okay. But you start changing the things around you that you're not content with. Now, I know there are people out there that have neighbors that you just either don't know or don't like. Okay, for whatever reason. My father used to say it really simple. This would be a really boring world if everybody was the same. But the neighbors that are close to you, that you're at odds with, reach out and say hello. If they come back with something bizarre like, "What do you want?" Okay, you just simply look at them, smile, and go to say hello. Okay, there is no real functional reason to get into an argument with anybody, especially based on a hello. Now, I had a run-in at one point. I was walking through the park, and all I did, I saw this guy there sitting reading, he was reading a book. Okay, and all I did was say, "Good morning." Now, that should have been the end of it. But what happened was the guy immediately started in telling me that it was only a good morning because of his belief structure. And we looked at him and went, okay. Now, we could have gotten into a real argument with him right then, because all we had said was good morning, and I'll tell you, the way he came across was very derogatory, very holier than thou, better than thou attitude. And I personally don't deal with it well. In this case, instead of confronting him about it, I just simply chose to walk away. I tried a couple of other times to talk to him and got the same attitude. The man was not interested in being nice to anybody. And I know this because I talked to a number of other people around the same park. They had the same problem. Now, somebody like that, you're not going to reach. You're not going to reach everybody by any stretch. But the problem wasn't with me. The problem was with him. And you cannot protect somebody from themselves. The only person that you've got control over is you. And granted, there are times when that's questionable, perhaps in your eyes, where you just don't have control over yourself. Maybe you've had a bad day. Maybe your emotions are running a little off kilter. Okay. Could be any number of reasons. But there are times when that's just not going to help. But do your best. You may not keep on the straight and narrow all the time, but you can certainly come back on the track. I love the way I heard it put in a movie one day. Just because somebody stumbles does not mean they are lost forever. Okay, and this society has stumbled drastically. Okay, the legal system is in disarray. The political arena is absolutely a nightmare. The so-called educational system is not teaching the people what they need to be taught. Okay. even a massive majority of parents are dropping the ball on educating their kids. So society itself has stumbled drastically, is floundering badly in the world around it. Okay, and the net result is we have a society that is in absolute disarray. Now, can we blame everybody else? Certainly. You absolutely can blame them. Is this effective? Not in the least. Okay. For instance, let's blame the government for the litter. Now, if you're one of these people, and it amazes me this many people do this. Now, I personally don't smoke, but I'm going to put it this way. If you're one of these people that take a cigarette, you're having your smoke as you're driving down the road and you fire the butt out the window, that's litter. The government is not responsible for you doing that. If you don't smoke, and let's say you're drinking a coffee, and you're driving along, you finish your coffee up, and I don't want the coffee cup in my house and in my car anymore, so you throw it out the window. Again, this is litter, but it is not the government's responsibility to end up out there. That was your choice. Now, with this in mind, one piece of litter ain't going to matter a whole lot, okay, in the greater scheme of things. But we have roughly 7.5 billion people on this planet. Now, if all of those people are throwing one piece of garbage of any form out, okay, instead of containing it, instead of disposing of it, okay, if everybody throws just one piece, we are going to have a staggering amount of garbage. It's your choice whether you contribute to that or whether you help keep things tidy. If your house is in disarray, you cannot effectively blame anybody but you. Now, you can absolutely, if you've got other people living with you, you can absolutely go, well, they helped create the mess. They certainly did. So ask them to help clean it up. If they refuse, stop doing certain things. Like, for instance, I saw one person that did a phenomenal stunt. They had a child that would not clean up after themselves. Just flat out refused. So what they did was they went and they took everything the kid left out and put it on their bed. Now the bedroom was the only place they were allowed to sleep. But everything was put on the bed, and when the kid went, well, I'm really tired, clear your bed. And when the kid shoved it all on the floor, right, they simply said, when the kid asked for anything, it's like, is your bedroom cleaned up? No, but I want to go do such and such. Well, and they cut off all access to everything and said, okay, you want this stuff, you're going to do this. When people talk about politics, in your own home, what we were just describing is a political arena. It is negotiation. But you're the one in charge. You're the one that is the, if you will, the government of that house. And therefore, it's up to you to lay down the laws. Of course, it's up to everybody else that lives there to follow them. But make sure that the laws that you make are laws that apply to everybody. For instance, if you've got a rule that says shut off the lights when you go by, make certain if you're going by, shut off the lights. So that so you're leading by example. Now rest assured, I'm not perfect by any functional stretch, but the tools I'm offering you are the same tools I personally use to get my life in order. Okay, that's because I have taken responsibility for my own actions. I've taken responsibility for my own health, for my own situation. And the reality is this, I don't have all the information. So I am talking to people that have it. Like, for instance, where it comes to health, I'm talking to people that are educated in that field. Where it comes to finance, I talk to people that are educated in that field. Okay, I still use my own head. In other words, ask the questions, make sure you understand them. It's your responsibility to make sure you understand it, And if you don't understand what you're being told, it is your responsibility to ask for clarification. Now, I got very good at asking for clarification where it came to travel, because I've got a sense of direction that I've never found anyone with one worse. I can get turned around in my own house, but I've been living in the same city for 35 years now, and just a month or so back, got lost a half a dozen times because I kept making the wrong turn because I couldn't keep myself organized. Okay, and that is a glitch up here that much as I would love to say it's no big deal, it's a major problem for me. But it's not something I can blame anybody else for. It is what it is. I just have to find a way to cope with it. You undoubtedly have things in your life that you don't have total dominant control over. One of the biggest things that I've noticed with people is they talk about depression. Okay, now, a lot of people that fight depression, first of all, don't want to admit it because everybody goes, oh, you're depressed, you're nuts. Depression is a real thing. But one thing I found that does help, it won't necessarily cure it. It may, but the important factor is it will at least help temporarily. Find the fastest paced dance music you can find. Crank it as high as socially acceptable and let it run. That increased music vibration will help your mood. It'll help your energy levels and it will make things easier to cope with. Okay. And in case you're wondering, I don't like wearing glasses. I have 20/20 eyesight now for reading, but at distance, I still can't. Okay, but since my clock is down here, I have to put the glasses on just to make sure I'm still on track. Because see, if I don't do that, then I'm going to go way overboard, because in case you hadn't noticed, I have a tendency of rambling on occasion. But all of the things I've been talking about, the reason they're changing is because I took responsibility for my actions, for my life, for my way of doing things. I've taken full responsibility for it. Now, are there things that I can look at and go, well, if so-and-so straightened such and such out, it wouldn't be so difficult? Probably true. But since they haven't, you work with what you've got. Now, I've long lived with the philosophy, you brace for the worst, you plan for the best, but you live for the moment. Okay, now I've talked about where I would like my finances to go. The reality is my finances are not where I would like. And I just about messed things up on this last month because I didn't pay as close of attention as I should have. However, I hit both my financial goals. So this month, last month I said that I literally wrote down I have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by April 30th of 2021. I made that mark. So now I've changed that sign to say we have legally attained a minimum of $2,116 by May 31st of 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. The reason I did that is because I made the 2,000 last month. Now I'm aiming at a higher marker. Okay, and now what happens from this point forward, because I'm taking responsibility for my actions, I am planning for a better future. Now I start upping that income that I desire to attain. And I can virtually guarantee I will find a way to make it happen. Okay, now all of the tools that I talk about, pretty much, I do put in books. Now, if you look at the list of, there's a list of books I've already written at the bottom of this video. Okay, that will tell you the books I've already written that are open for purchase. They can only be ordered through me. And there's a whole list of contact points below that that tell you where to get a hold of me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Okay, absolutely, drop me a line if you've got questions. Feel free to ask. I will do my best to respond. Most of the time it will be directly, but sometimes it'll be in the form of literally putting a video. Hiccups, I hate them. And like I said, I do not edit. Okay, so it really boils down to this. I will do my best. If I have to pause it at this point, I do actually know how to do that with this thing now. That took me forever. Well, not quite. I only figured it out about a week ago. How to actually pause this recording long enough I can deal with something if I have to, and carry on. Prior to that, if I didn't get it done in one shot, I was hooped. Okay, so, the long and the short of it today is this. Okay, it's time to take responsibility for your actions. Now, with this in mind, I have taken trying to figure out, never mind trying to figuring out what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. Okay, now, we've talked about this issue of responsibility. Now, tomorrow when we come back, we're going to talk about action and making certain that we get that list moving properly. We've covered it a lot of times, okay, but we're going to go into a lot more definitive detail and show you how it actually works. Okay, and the reason I'm telling you this is, quite frankly, hopefully what it'll do, if you know somebody that is having trouble figuring out how to get started in altering their life path, this is the video that'll help you do that, or help them do that. So again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and spread and share the daylights out of it. Let your friends, let your enemies for that matter, know. If you know somebody that's having trouble getting themselves organized and getting themselves motivated to change their life from what they are in to what they desire to change, okay, regardless of what the situation is, okay, regardless of how long they've been in the state, pass on the link to the video. Okay, we will be back tomorrow to discuss just exactly how to make that whole transition happen. And we'll get started working on it together so that we can show you again, lead by example, point out what we're going to be doing, and then show you how that all comes together. Okay, and hopefully find out from you that you're now replicating what we're talking about. Because frankly, together, we can make this world better for everybody. It is long overdue time, and it is our responsibility as individuals to make this change now. We have waited way too long. Society has gone into quite the tailspin, but it is correctable. Okay, now, I'm going to call it a night, and that said, until we meet again tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.